Without trying to get into her head on this, she was following what had been the practice of previous secretaries. Again, Secretary Kerry is the first to rely primarily on a state.gov account. This was also an unclassified email. No classified business was done on it. So not going to get into specifics about security, but certainly this Secretary Powell wrote about this in his book, that he had a personal computer. I'm going to pick up my note card here. He had a personal laptop installed in his office so he could use personal email. He wrote about that in his book. So again, there's some past practice for this.
Yeah, but the problem is, as she well knows, the rules and the laws changed in '09. So this is a ridiculously obsolete, ridiculous argument. Joining us now, Mark Hemingway, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Mark, you wrote a great piece about Hillary's email problem and how this brings us all back to Benghazi.
Yep, yes it does. You know, throughout this Benghazi inquiry, the press has been very eager to leap forward and claim that Republican investigators in Congress are overreaching and trying to uncover things that just aren't there. Well, we now know with this Hillary Benghazi scandal that any congressional inquiry that doesn't have access to the tens of thousands of emails that Hillary sent during her tenure as Secretary of State is going to be incomplete. So it's really hard to say congressional investigators have been overreaching on Benghazi when a significant component of evidence that they didn't have access to.
Right, and you talk about the media spin through all this. So when a report came out saying there was nothing there, they spun it in that direction. Yet at the same time, we didn't see any of the emails because Hillary had all the emails. And the New York Times, they broke the story about the emails the other day, and you give them credit for that. Yet it was because it was a Benghazi committee looking for emails that discovered she had been using a personal email address. It's all about Benghazi.
Right. No, that's exactly right. So what happened here was the State Department had done their own internal administrative review board investigation, and Hillary Clinton makes this a State Department internal investigation the centerpiece of her defense of her conduct in Benghazi in her last book, Hard Choices. The reality is that this State Department review board was sort of it was a board put together of sort of handpicked by Clinton associates, and it was really kind of a whitewash.
But they never spoke to her.
Right. They never interviewed Hillary Clinton. They didn't record any of the interviews. In fact, they did for this review board in any fashion at all. But the State Department Internal Review Board did collect a bunch of evidence. And we don't know whether that review board had access to Hillary's email or not. But the Republican investigators were frequently stymied because the Administrative Review Board, even though it was required by statute to keep track of all the evidence that they'd collected for their own investigation, was completely unwilling to share them with Republican investigators in Congress. So when they finally turned over 300 emails that the State Department had apparently, I don't know whether the Administrative Review Board had them all along or whether or not these are the emails the State Department just negotiated with Hillary's lawyers to get. When they finally got those emails and looked at them, the Republican investigators immediately went, hey, wait a minute, what is this ClintonEmail.com nonsense? So that's how the scandal really broke.
You know, how do they stand there with a straight face? I could see the sycophants, the Hillary sycophants, like the former governor of Michigan, who said, well, she was just following precedents. And Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, of all people, said, you can't just follow precedents when the laws change. You can't pay the old tax rate if it's less because you don't like the new tax rate. But you know, Maria Harf is saying that Colin Powell did this and blah, blah, blah. But the law is different now.
Right. No, that's exactly right. Basically, the arguments that have been offered in the defense of Hillary Clinton, they fall into three different categories thus far. They're either irrelevant, they're ignorant, or they're complete non sequiturs. You know, and there's been a lot of that. You know, you have a situation where, I mean, the only argument really to date that's honest is Paul Begala has come out and said, you know, voters don't care about this and they're not going to care about it. Well, you know, that hasn't happened yet. We haven't been able to say whether or not voters are going to care about it, but that's at least honest. You know, saying that Colin Powell did it, you know, at a time when Colin Powell, you know, hardly anyone at the State Department used email, period. It's a complete non sequitur.
And now they're, of course, they're saying that Jeb Bush, as governor of Florida, used a personal account for some things too. I say, who cares? It's apples and oranges. It makes no sense.
No, it is apples and oranges, and it's particularly apples and oranges if you're talking about an elected official versus an appointed member of a presidential cabinet.
Right.
Hillary Clinton. Because if you're an elected official and you're running for office, you can't use state infrastructure to do things like
absolutely not.
Mark,
Mark,
you have to have a separate email account to do your campaign business to keep it separate from the official business.
Right.
Whereas the New York Times has reported that Hillary Clinton, in her own private email, did State Department business,
right.
she did Clinton Foundation business, and she did
other personal. Yep. Mark Hemingway, great to talk to you, sir. Thank you. We're coming back, folks. Don't go away.